Baby zombie used a nasty chicken plucker.
Trivia, Emerald Student Man. I got a whole bunch of raw chicken right here for you. You're greedy and selfish, but at least it's quicker than digging huge tunnels all day just for one or two. Oh yeah, I'm gonna build it. That's my plan, my plan. Oh yeah, you'll see I'm gonna show you that I can. I'll search wide and far. Can't help but wonder where you are. If I'm gonna grab some blocks of two, you're gonna see what I can do. Yeah, you'll see what I can do. Creeper, you shouldn't be hissing. A guy like you should never be in my room. My everything just went missing, but at least my precious loot didn't go kaboom. Oh yeah, I'm gonna build it. That's my plan, my plan. Oh yeah, you'll see I'm gonna show you that I can. I search wide and far. Gotta get that nether stuff. And I'm gonna beat them with a tool. You're gonna see what I can do. Yeah, you see what I can do. I'm gonna build it. I got the skills for it, not just the thrill of it. Yeah, build it. I'm feeling weakened, but here's my beacon. I won't be beaten. Oh yeah. Come on, and I'm gonna build it. I got skills for it, not just the thrill of it. Yeah, build it just like us. I'm feeling weakened, but here's my beacon. I won't be beaten. Oh yeah, I can do. I won't be beaten. Yeah, you see what I can do. guarantee. Maybe some bread on it, maybe carrots and peas. Yeah, that's just who I am. I really gotta eat. Wanna be so close that I can feel your heartbeat. Do you wanna see my face? My friend named Zayn, I ain't. You can take my stage, babe. No honor on you, that's a legend. We're not here to get your family. We're right here. We're hungry, and we came here for the comfort. Just come out of that oven. We got all night. There's no need for shoving for your life. And Elijah, say cheese. We're not here to get your family. Family, I won't eat your family. 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 I won't eat your family.
Got my helmet on my head. Figure out what that zombie said. Lava all over the room. Got a half heart left, man, I am doomed. Don't have any iron bars. My pick just broke into some shards. Scary noise, what should I do? Go left or right, I'll have to choose. Visions of last time flash inside my mind. I'm scared. Oh well. And I'm pretty sure there's a big creeper right there. Don't mind at night. I know you're looking at that cave and you're feeling kind of brave. Go to bed, you'll be alright. Don't mind at night. There's nothing that is gonna change if you just wait until the day. Zombies wanna eat your brains. Don't mind at night. I know it's me you're gonna thank. Make a bed, it's not too late. 3 wool and 3 wooden planks. Don't mind at night. How many times I have to say, drop the pick and walk away. Hey, whoa, don't mind at night. Don't mind at night. Don't mind at night. Stomach's all tied up in knots. This labyrinth, I'm getting lost. This is really getting old. Found like 2 pieces of coal. Down one way, there's just stone. Monsters won't leave me alone. Down another, there's some lava, and of course I get pwned. Remember last time I tried to mine at night? I failed so bad. I lost all my stuff, it was really tough. That's it, rage quit. Don't mind at night. I know you're looking at that cave and you're feeling kind of brave. Go to bed, you'll be alright. Don't mind at night. There's nothing that is gonna change if you just wait until the day. Zombies wanna eat your brains. Don't mind at night. I know it's me you're gonna thank. Make a bed, it's not too late. 3 wool and 3 wooden planks. Don't mind at night. How many times I have to say, drop the pick and walk away. Hey, whoa, don't mind at night. Don't mind at night. Don't mind at night. Don't mind at night. I know you're looking at that cave and you're feeling kind of brave. Go to bed.
There we go. Fixed it. Okay. The music is slowing down the game and also irritating me, so... Hi, Moose. You are big. You are angry. Good to know. Don't get too close to the moose. I'm learning what is and is not hostile in this game. Turns out, moose are hostile. It's definitely not Mises. Definitely not Mises. I sincerely doubt that there are non-hostile Mises, as you call them. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. If I don't go near him, I should be fine. There we go. Yeah, you hear dogs because they're downstairs giving me an aneurysm. There's boars over there. Second village up there. Very gorgeous, actually. We gotta deal with that lava fall, though. Well, now damn, if that ain't pretty, I don't know what is. Fuck. I think maybe we'll build over there on that little flat area. We'll make that middle a bridge. We'll make that a pond. We'll fix my fucking render settings. Let's see if we can't fix some video settings to make this a little less. There we go.
bed, you'll be alright. Don't mind at night. There's nothing that is gonna change if you just wait until the day. Zombies wanna eat your brains. Don't mind at night. I know it's me you're gonna thank. Make a bed, it's not too late. 3 wool and 3 wooden planks. Don't mind at night. How many times I have to say, drop the pick and walk away. Hey, whoa, don't mind at night.
Small pig in my shell. I've lost my way, but I'll keep believing how a single act can make it more open. I might only have one pig, but I'm gonna find diamonds. All those things I didn't see, mining more inside my brain. I'll see diamonds bright tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my mind song, my own survival song. Proof I'm alright song. My furnace is turned up. Right now I'll be strong. I'll play my mind song.
I don't really care if nobody else believes.
I've still got a lot of
Mining left in me.
losing oars and I'm chasing sheep. There's nowhere safe for me to sleep. I'm in too deep.
Deep,
Yeah,
too deep.
it's been 2 caves. I missed the spawn, but there's a fire burning in my bones. Still believe. Yeah, I still believe. All those things I didn't see, mining more inside my brain. I'll see diamonds bright tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my mind song, my own survival song. Even though the night is long, my furnace is turned up. Cracking right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my mind song.
Be right back.
Nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of mining left in me. A lot of mining left in me. Like a small pig in my shell. I've lost my way, but I'll keep believing how a single act can make it all open. I might only have one pig, but I'm gonna find diamonds. This is my mind song, my own survival song. Proof I'm alright song. My furnace is turned up. Right now I'll be strong. I'll play my
There we go. We need some water. So I feel like less of a cave gremlin. Alright, so let's not go outside just yet until I figure out if that's a... Oh, you can go outside. Okay, fine. Run into potential danger. I suppose that's your thing. Forgot how to mine, it's just been such a long time. slow. Cobblestone. You're a nimwit. Of course you are. Fine.
Trying to guess how to make an anvil. So one in town and I've got a bag full of different ores I collected down in the mine. Am I just wasting my time? Then to my uttermost surprise, I can quite believe my pixel eyes. I found it after 7,000 tries. Well, that's a recipe I didn't know. I need some friends on me that I can show. I would not want it all on my own. I'm all alone, learning. How do I craft this again? How do I craft this again? How do I craft this again? I'm all alone. How do I craft this again?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the little area. Okay.
Now I'm a pro, you can come to me anytime about new carpets and dyes, or baking new pumpkin pies. Fireworks for lighting up the skies. Trip water for catching evil spies. Now all the news are thinking on my mind. How
Do I craft this again? I know. How do I craft this again? I know. How do I craft this again?
I know.
How do I craft this again?
I know. There isn't anything that I don't know. But sticks with strings and craft yourself a bow. I'll up and down and if you're up in slow. You're all asking. How do I craft this again? How do I craft this again? How do I craft this again?
Enderman.
Because I don't give a fuck. Keep none alive. Take no prisoners. Set you on fire. Watch you sizzle up. If you got the diamonds, you better just give them up. Don't need technique or magic. I just hop onto your server and unleash my wrath. If you get me freaked out, I'll just say it's all in my head. Why is that? Oh, wait, 'cause you're already dead.
crops on my crops, I'll murder your livestock. Why? 'Cause I do more damage than Herobrine does. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the baddest of them all? You don't have to say, 'cause I already know. It's me. No, shut your pie hole. Mirror, mirror, tell me now. Who's the baddest cat in town? You can kiss my ass. And you can suck my balls. You and me will never get along. You know everybody thinks you're a nuisance. Why
Come on in.
come up with a couple new tricks? Uh-oh, I don't wanna sound overzealous. I think that I'm making you kinda jealous.
Are you done, Lola?
It's a house, but I can fix you. You seem like a guy who's got mommy issues. Ah, good on. That was such a lame joke. At least I'm not a stupid video game host. You bum off of servers as if you were homeless. All I do is destroy, so why would I want my own, bitch? Breathing isn't
Lola.
hard. I find a canvas and paint. Well, you can call it an art.
We are not doing this I want in, I want out game.
Some obsidian and cover you up. But you don't the face only your mother could love. I leave debris in my way. I leave emotional scars.
Hey, what are you doing here, punk? Scram! I'm the admin. Oh. Shit.
You don't have to say, 'cause I already know. It's me. No, shut your pie hole. Mirror, mirror, tell me now. Who's the baddest cat in town? You can kiss my ass. And you can suck my balls. You and me will never get along.
Thanks for checking out this Herobrine vs. Reaper rap battle animated version. We've had this song out for a while, but we finally got it animated by Use It Animations. Go check out the channel for more awesome animations. And yeah, you should also check out our merch store, because then you might look cool.
Yeah, but for a laugh, I told her, I said, Jesus. The dog is being incredibly fucking contrary, and she just got her feet pinched in the door. Why? Because she would not fucking move. She wanted out the room. She didn't want to fucking move out the room. She just wanted out the room. Bring back home for you. Alright, music, you're driving me nuts again. My brain is on fire. Autism. So fun. So savant. So smart. Jesus fucking Christ. existing in this world is going to be very unpleasant unless I figure out how to get myself some fucking armor, so... Is this really all the wood we have? Fine, we're gonna go plant some saplings while we're at it. And we're gonna pause this, and we're gonna pull up a thing, because I'm gonna drive myself nuts if I fucking don't. I'm so fucking annoyed. Jeez. Like, I'm over here just trying to make some shit work, and... the dog is like, no, actually. It is my job to be an absolute nightmare child, make you all regret everything. Geez, well, if you're lagging, I have no idea how far behind you are, so you're probably not going to hear this for a while. Okay, well, in the meantime, we're going to find something to fucking listen to. Where is it? I don't remember the channel name, so we're searching through subscriptions and praying. This is already going very well. Turn your back on tomorrow. Fascinating horror. There it is.
On the 10th of October 1957, a fire broke out at the Windscale nuclear facility on the west coast of England. The flames sent vast quantities of radioactive material billowing up into the atmosphere. It was, and remains, the United Kingdom's most serious nuclear accident. But at the time, no residents from the surrounding area were evacuated, and most of the details of the fire were swiftly hushed up. It would be years before the true extent of the damage caused by the Windscale fire was revealed. Windscale was constructed on the site of a former munitions factory in 1947. Rather than explosives, though.
Yeah, I don't really want to listen to, like, a nuclear thing, though, because that's, like, really annoying. Like, just fucking around with nuclear power in general is a bad idea, so I don't understand people.
On the 5th of July, 2009, at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, 2 ride trains collided,
Yeah, it's got a very
resulting
soothing
in
voice.
the death of 1 staff member. This fatal crash, however, did not take place on a roller coaster or other thrill ride, but instead on the resort's monorail system, designed to transport guests around and between the parks. The monorail system at Walt Disney World was installed in 1971 and expanded several times during the 1970s and 1980s. By the end of 1988, it consisted of 3 loops with a total of 6 stations along the way, a configuration that has remained
It's a really
unchanged
soothing
ever
voice
since.
for his content. It's like, here is
2
death.
of these loops are
Nice,
dedicated
though.
to the Magic Kingdom section of the resort. One of these carries an express service that ferries guests between Central Transportation and Ticket Hub and the Magic Kingdom itself. The other is a resort line, which stops at several locations around the Magic Kingdom. The 3rd loop is separate from these 2 lines and serves the Epcot section of the resort. As a passenger, if you wish to go from the Epcot loop to either of the Magic Kingdom loops, you must disboard and change trains through the Transportation and Ticket Centre. However, for the purposes of managing the system, it is possible to move trains between the loops. This is done on a routine basis using a switch in the track and a joining spur between the different lines. A number of parties are responsible for managing these track switches. On board each monorail train is a pilot who is, of course, responsible for driving the train. A supervisor based in a central control room is responsible for providing the pilot with instructions, and a panel operator in another control room is responsible for switching on and off power in the track and activating the track switches. All parties are in constant radio contact. The incident took place at 2 AM on the 5th of July 2009. While most parts of the park were generally closed by this time of night, the monorails continued to run in order to allow guests to get back to their hotels. 3 trains were in operation on the Epcot line at the time: Monorail Pink, Monorail Purple, and Monorail Coral. Monorail Pink was ready to be taken out of service for the night. To be able to get back to the maintenance area where trains were usually parked when not in use, it would need to move from the Epcot line to the Magic Kingdom Express line. The first part of this operation went smoothly. Monorail Pink moved past the spur track joining the 2 lines and came to a complete halt, then reported in to the supervisor that it had done so. The supervisor in turn contacted the panel operator and asked them to switch the track so that Monorail Pink could back up onto the spur line. This is where something went wrong. The panel operator cut power to the Epcot line, ready to make the switch, but was then distracted by 2 almost simultaneous radio calls relating to other trains. After dealing with these, the panel operator returned power to the Epcot line, incorrectly thinking that he had already made the switch. He had not.
Yeah, poor
The
guy.
panel operator contacted the supervisor. The supervisor contacted Monorail Pink and cleared the pilot to back up onto the spur line.
On the same line.
The pilot of Monorail Pink began to back up. Of course, since the track had not actually been switched, the train didn't back up onto the spur track, but instead moved back along the Epcot line. Running along the Epcot line in a conflicting direction was Monorail Purple, which had a single pilot and 6 passengers on board. The pilot of this train would not have had long to react, but in the few moments he did have, he put the train into reverse. His final act was clearly intended to protect the passengers on board from danger. At 2 AM, the trains collided and came to a halt, partially inside the Ticket and Transportation Centre.
Yep.
The rearmost cab of Monorail Pink and the front cab of Monorail Purple.
You should actually really watch his channel, and I can link it always, but it's fascinating horror, and it's a really good breakdown of some engineering fails and safety fails, and especially about the human element in it all. Very good stuff. Anyways, resuming. His videos are detailed.
Purple were crushed and entangled, trapping the pilot of Monorail Purple. Despite the best efforts of passengers and staff, he could not be saved. The victim of this incident was 21-year-old Austin Wenenberg. He was a popular and well-liked young man, described by those who knew him as a genius and a perfect son. Following his death, he was remembered fondly by family, colleagues, and even by hundreds of guests who had the pleasure of meeting him during their time at Walt Disney World. Disney were quick to determine that no part of the ride system was malfunctioning. The monorail was up and running again the very next day, even as an investigation took place. The National Transportation Safety Board compiled a report noting that there were many things which could, and perhaps should, have prevented the collision. For example, the monorail was, like many attractions, fitted with a computerized blocking system, which would prevent 2 trains from entering the same block of track. However, this system routinely had to be deactivated when reversing a train onto the spur track between loops, and so could not prevent this accident from taking place. Equally, the supervisor might have been able to determine that the switch had not gone as planned, had they been in the control room at the time of the accident. Unfortunately, they had been out of the room, possibly at a nearby food outlet, and had been relying on radio contact only to manage the few trains on the system. Perhaps the pilot of Monorail Pink might have noticed that they were on the wrong track, but the two tracks were visually very similar. Combined with partially fogged up windows and low ambient light, it was determined that it would have been very difficult for the Monorail Pink pilot to realise that they were on the wrong track. Even then, guidance existed stating that before backing up a monorail train, pilots should move from the cab at the front end of the train to the cab at the rear. However, this was not a practice that was typically required or requested by supervisors, even though it was technically on the books. Accordingly, it was not done on this occasion. Finally, the panel operator might have noticed that they had not correctly switched the track, as they had access to a video feed of the switch. However, it was established practice to check this.
He even physically shows what they had access to, so it's really neat. Sorry to interrupt.
Only before making the switch to ensure that no train was in the way. The panel operator had never been briefed to check the video feed after making the switch to ensure that they had done so correctly. At every stage there was an opportunity to avert disaster, and at every stage this opportunity was narrowly missed. A slew of changes were made by Disney in the aftermath of the accident. A spotter is now required to be present in the rear-facing cab whenever a monorail train reverses. All staff receive extra training. Window defoggers are used. More live video feeds covering switches have been installed, and a second shop panel operator must verify each switch visually before the go-ahead can be given for a pilot to move. As a precaution, the practice of allowing guests to ride in the front cab of the monorail has also been discontinued. All these changes, and more besides, make the monorail at Walt Disney World safer than it ever has been. Interestingly, only a small portion of each train involved was destroyed in the incident. The undamaged portions were repurposed, becoming Monorail Teal and Monorail Peach, both of which remain in service to this day. Since the 5th of July, 2009, the system has transported almost 150,000 people per year without another deadly incident. That's the story of the one fatal crash in the Walt Disney World monorail's history. Compared to other attractions within the resort, the monorail seems like a relatively simple and unassuming machine.
Six Flags Haunted Castle Disaster. Yeah, it does make you jump. Here we go.
On the 11th of May, 1984, a fire began inside the Haunted Castle attraction at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson Township, New Jersey. The flames spread quickly, feeding off flammable building materials and decorations. There were around 30 guests inside the attraction when the flames took hold, almost a third of whom would not make it out alive. The Haunted Castle was a walk-through attraction, packed with spooky theming. Guests would move along a series of narrow and dimly lit corridors, enjoying frequent scares along the way. These were provided by special effects including strobes and recorded sounds, as well as live actors dressed in costume who would jump out from hidden alcoves. While it was themed to resemble a crooked castle, the attraction was actually built from 16 interconnected truck trailers. These were arranged in a symmetrical configuration, with 8 on each side. Each set of 8 trailers contained a more or less identical maze of corridors. When the park was quiet, only one side would be opened, but both sides could be run at once when the park was busy. There was also a central trailer which served as a control room and dressing room for the live actors. On the evening of the 11th of May, 1984, just one side of the attraction was opened. Guests were filtering through at a steady rate when, just before 6:30 p.m, a small fire began. This quickly spread. The trailers were made from aluminium, but were packed with flammable materials, including plywood dividing walls, cloth and paper coverings on most surfaces, wood and foam props, and foam crash pads on some walls. Around 30 people were inside when the fire began. The rapid spread of flames and smoke, combined with the deliberately confusing layout of the haunted castle, made it difficult for guests to evacuate. One guest who did manage to escape noted that he'd stumbled, tripped and bounced off walls as he fled, and that his decision to leave had been delayed because, upon first seeing flames and smoke, he mistook them for just another special effect. Fire and rescue services were called promptly and arrived on scene within minutes, but the fire was so fierce that the affected side of the attraction was all but destroyed by the time they managed to bring it under control. It was, for a brief time, thought that all patrons had been successfully evacuated, but this notion was quashed when 8 bodies were discovered in the wreckage, most of them in the same narrow corridor. Some of them were so severely burned that they were initially mistaken for burned mannequins from the haunted castle's theming. The 8 victims were all from the same group of friends. Among the dead were 18-year-old Nicola Kayatsa, 17-year-old Joseph Beiruti, 15-year-old Tina Genovese, 18-year-old Eric Rodriguez, 17-year-old Samuel Valentin, 17-year-old Lenny Ruiz, 17-year-old Jose Carrion, and 17-year-old Christopher Harrison. The park was briefly closed while an investigation took place. The initial cause of the fire was soon identified. A 13-year-old survivor named Joey Irica testified that he had seen another teenage boy using the flame from a cigarette lighter to find his way through a darkened part of the maze. While doing so, Irica testified, the older boy had accidentally brought the flame too close to a ripped piece of foam dangling from a foam-clad wall, causing it to ignite. The boy with the lighter was never identified. While using an open flame in such a confined space is a foolish course of action, investigators noted that he was not to blame for the disaster. The fault was, instead, attributed to park management and to a range of state-level inspection agencies.
Yep, very young deaths.
These parties, it was alleged, had allowed the haunted castle to operate without proper safety systems and in an increasingly dangerous condition year
entirely
on year.
preventable.
For example, no sprinkler system and no working smoke alarms were installed inside the attraction. Both had been recommended by fire safety consultants, but weren't actually mandatory, since the haunted castle was considered to be a temporary structure, and building codes at the time did not require smoke alarms or sprinkler systems inside temporary structures. Of course, the haunted castle had been in place for almost 5 years at the time of the disaster, thus somewhat stretching the definition of temporary. Furthermore, it was revealed that many of the emergency exit lights and other fixtures and fittings within the maze had been in poor condition at the time of the disaster. Employees noted that bulbs were missing or broken in many emergency lights, and that the foam padding on the wall where the fire had begun was ripped and exposed when it should have been neatly sealed. Shift managers also reported that guests had been witnessed using matches and lighters to illuminate their way on several occasions in the past, but that nothing had been done to address this. When staff working on the haunted castle had brought up these issues with senior management, they had been ignored, even when they staged a walkout in protest against the poor upkeep of the attraction in 1983. In that same year, an anonymous employee had filled in a form for reporting safety violations with the words, "Forget it. Too numerous to mention." Despite this record of poor maintenance and missing safety measures, both the park and its parent company were cleared of any wrongdoing when the matter came to court. After much deliberation, jurors laid the blame at the feet of Jackson Township officials, who repeatedly allowed the castle to slip through cracks in the fire code. The park had followed the regulations it was required to follow by law, but the law had simply not required enough.
Yep.
8 civil suits were brought against the park, 7 of which were settled out of court for $2.5 million apiece. The remaining suit went to trial, and the family involved were ultimately awarded a significantly lesser sum. Multiple updates were made to New Jersey fire safety codes in the wake of the disaster, particularly with regard to any structure, like the haunted castle, which was intended to confuse or disorientate visitors. New regulations required that all such structures be fitted with suitable fire detection systems, and that when a fire alarm was triggered, lights should automatically come on and confusing sound effects and music should automatically be muted. Other states were quick to adopt New Jersey's rules, leading to a revolution in scare attraction safety across America. Despite this, several attractions in New Jersey suffered as a result of the disaster, and many went out of business. Six Flags Great Adventure itself very nearly folded in 1987, in part due to negative coverage concerning the fire. It was ultimately able to recover and move forward, and still operates today. The building, or more accurately, the set of trailers which housed the haunted castle, has long since been removed. It has been replaced by a new ride, the Cyborg Cyber Spin.
Yeah, this one bugs me.
There is no memorial, nor any lasting sign of the attraction which stood there in 1984, but it is safe to say that the haunted castle will not be forgotten. It remains a powerful spectre for the families of those lost in the fire, and a terrible warning to legislators and fire safety officials on the dangers of letting things slip through the cracks.
Yeah, see, there's no memorial, there's no site, there's just this nice, clean, new ride, and honestly, that pisses me off more than anything. Because it's like, you could at least put up a plaque where that many people died, but okay. Well, it might impact our revenue.
At 7 p.m. on the 17th of July, 1981, more than 1,000 people were gathered in the atrium of the Hyatt Regency Kansas City Hotel for a tea dance, when a structural failure occurred. 2 skywalks which crossed the lobby collapsed, crashing down onto the revelers below. The incident would cause the greatest loss of life from a structural collapse in American history, only ever to be superseded 20 years later by the destruction of New York City's World Trade Center.
As in, it took a terrorist attack to kill more people than this.
The Hyatt Regency Kansas City Hotel was part of the Crown Center complex, a suite of buildings owned by Hallmark Cards, consisting of both retail and residential space. The hotel stood 45 stories tall, with more than 700 rooms available for guests, as well as a grand ballroom and exhibition space. It was a popular venue, and the tea dances held there each weekend had swiftly become a phenomenon, drawing in ever-increasing crowds. People came to drink, dance, meet their friends, and enjoy an evening out on the town. By all accounts, the hotel was doing well. Construction had been completed just a year before, in 1980, and already it was a familiar landmark to many residents of and visitors to Kansas City. Of particular note was the lobby, an elegant, high-ceilinged space fitted out in metal, glass and concrete. As well as soaring windows to admit plenty of daylight, it also boasted 3 walkways which spanned the length of the atrium at the 2nd, 3rd and 4th floors. These walkways were left open during the tea dances, and people often gathered on them to look down at the crowd below. They afforded an excellent view of the entire lobby, and of the live band providing the entertainment. Survivors of the disaster which unfolded on the 17th of July 1981 report that there was little warning before the collapse occurred. At 7:05 p.m, several loud popping sounds were heard. Just seconds later, the 4th floor walkway failed, collapsing straight downwards onto the 2nd floor walkway, which failed in turn. The combined mass of both walkways crashed down onto the densely packed crowd occupying the ground floor of the lobby. Many victims who were caught in the collapse were killed instantly, but some did survive. They were left trapped in the mangled wreckage of the 2 walkways, pinned in place by concrete, glass and steel, gravely injured and inaccessible to rescuers. Worse still, the hotel's sprinkler system ruptured, flooding the ruined lobby with hundreds of gallons of water. Having survived the collapse, several victims were now at risk of drowning. A rescue operation began, but was almost immediately stymied. Many of the pieces of concrete were too heavy or bulky to be moved by the equipment the fire and rescue service had on hand. Fire chiefs appealed to the construction community who, without hesitation, provided cranes, drills and other heavy lifting equipment to help rescuers reach those people still trapped in the rubble. Digging down to reach survivors was not a pleasant task. Water was everywhere. The power had failed and there was little light to see by, with visibility further hampered by dust and debris. Furthermore, so densely packed was the rubble that in some cases the only way to reach survivors was by dismembering the dead bodies which blocked access to them. In a few cases, the only way to rescue someone was to perform an on-site amputation. In total, 114 people were killed and 216 were injured in the incident. Casualties were sent to nearly every available hospital in the area, while the dead were moved to a makeshift morgue in the hotel's exhibition area. The high number of casualties meant that almost everyone in the local area knew at least one victim. The psychic impact of the collapse was huge. An investigation was launched to find the cause, and its focus quickly narrowed to the construction of the walkways. Analysis of the wreckage showed that a change had been made from the original plans. The walkways for floors 2 and 4 were directly above one another. In the original plans, they depended from the same long hanger rods. But, in actual fact, these long rods had been switched out in each case with 2 shorter rods.
Stupid. So stupid.
This seemingly innocuous switch had been made based on a proposal from the manufacturer of the steel rods. Long rods would have to be threaded along their full length, and would thus be easily damaged during installation. Replacing each long rod with 2 shorter rods would make things much easier to manage, they said, and so 2 rods were installed in each case. It was never taken into account that this would change the forces which acted upon the walkways. In this new configuration, the beams of the 4th floor walkway, where the hanger rods were attached, now had to bear twice the load they had originally been intended to hold. This, combined with the number of guests crowded on the walkway during the tea dance on the 17th of July 1981, was what had precipitated the collapse. Analysis of the wreckage revealed that the nuts holding the walkway in place had pulled all the way through the box beams against which they had been secured. While this was the main factor in the collapse, it wasn't the only issue highlighted by the investigation. Numerous other safety violations and breaches of protocol were discovered. During the hotel's rapid construction, preliminary sketches had been used as though they were final signed-off drawings, and changes to the design had sometimes...
See, that is what gets me. Preliminary sketches used as the final thing. Like... Sorry, skeleton. At what point would anyone think, this is a good idea, we should do this? Like, at what point? There is no point. Hello, zombie army. Hello. But, like... preliminary fucking sketches. I cannot with that at the moment. Play in a minute. Come on, zombies. Jesus. There's a lot of zombies. Anyways. Yeah, just... Who does that? Who does that? Who uses preliminary fucking sketches as the final? That's what continues to horrify me.
being confirmed by a quick phone call, rather than by the submission of revised plans.
There we go. Let me rewind.
By the investigation. Numerous other safety violations and breaches of protocol were discovered. During the hotel's rapid construction, preliminary sketches had been used as though they were final signed-off drawings, and changes to the design had sometimes been confirmed by a quick phone call, rather than by the submission of revised plans.
Jesus.
The issue which caused the collapse of the walkways at the Hyatt Regency Kansas City Hotel was, according to the original designer, so obvious that a first-year engineering student could have spotted it. But it had gone unnoticed, with the various companies and contractors involved in the construction of the hotel all assuming that someone else had done the work of verifying designs and running calculations. The disaster, and the hundreds of deaths which resulted from it, had been caused, in short, by poor communication and a laissez-faire attitude during a rushed construction project. The engineering firm, Jack D. Gillam and Associates, had been responsible for the original design and had approved the final drawings. In the aftermath of the disaster, they were stripped of their license to operate in 3 states, as well as their membership of the American Society of Civil Engineers. No criminal charges were pursued against the firm, but owner Jack D. Gillam, who had been an engineer of note on the project, was haunted by the disaster for the rest of his life. He spent his remaining years lecturing and speaking about his involvement, in the hope that the story would scare young engineers out of making the same mistakes that he and his company did.
As is appropriate,
More
dude.
than 300 civil suits were brought
You should
against
sleep.
those involved in the construction and management of the hotel. These lawsuits yielded billions of dollars in compensation, a large portion of which was set aside for charitable causes to help the Kansas City community heal and move forward in the wake of the disaster. Even when agreeing to pay out compensation, everyone connected with the case denied all legal responsibility. numerous changes were made in the fields of civil engineering and construction in the wake of the disaster. The collapse was international news. In countries around the world, the curriculum for engineering students was completely overhauled, with a new emphasis on responsibility and safety. Standards were raised and trade manuals revised. The walkway collapse remains, to this day, a sobering case study for budding engineers, one which underlines very clearly the importance of good communication and adherence to protocol.
Better to be a
A
nuisance
memorial,
than hundreds
dedicated
dead.
in 2015, now stands in Hospital Hill Park, close to the hotel, which itself has been entirely restored and refurbished. The two collapsed walkways which once crossed the lobby have now been replaced by just one walkway, supported by pillars rather than hanger rods. And the hotel has been renamed. It is now known as the Sheraton Kansas City at Crown Center. Thanks to the sweeping changes which took place in the wake of the disaster, it has been described as one of the safest buildings in the country. The legacy of the Hyatt Regency walkway collapse is one of pain and trauma, but it is also a legacy of learning. Just as the renewed and reconstructed hotel is safer than the old Hyatt Regency, so too are other buildings the world over. The lessons learned on the 17th of July 1981 were excruciatingly painful, but they were lessons, at least, that stuck.
As they fucking should have. We are not going to do the